Have you ever wondered why the world feels off? Why, despite all your effort, your intellect, your hustle, life sometimes refuses to shift? There's a quiet suspicion in the minds of those who begin to awaken that what we've been taught to focus on is only a shadow of the real world. This suspicion isn't new. It whispered in the temples of ancient Egypt. It danced through the riddles of Sufi poets and echoed in the cryptic diagrams of Renaissance alchemists. The Gnostics called this realm the illusion. The Vedas named it Maya, and in Freemasonry, they symbolized it as a ladder, a staircase of consciousness, where few dare ascend beyond the 33rd degree. You see, beneath the surface of this material world lies something more fundamental, more powerful, and more ancient than anything your five senses can touch. The field. A living, breathing matrix of energy, of vibration, of consciousness itself. Modern quantum physics hints at what mystics always knew, that the so-called solid world is nothing more than probability waves collapsing into form. That matter is not primary. Consciousness is. What we call life is not driven by action alone. It's shaped by vibration, the frequency you emit through thought, emotion, memory, intention. Every human being, whether aware or not, radiates a frequency, and that frequency, over time, becomes their life. Have you ever entered a room and felt tension so thick it was like walking through fog? Or met someone whose presence softened your heart before they spoke a word? That's not magic. That's not instinct. That's your energetic field interacting with another. It's real. It's ancient. It's measurable. And it governs more of your life than logic ever could. This is why many who chase success with relentless force still feel empty. Why love escapes those who try to earn it. Why inner peace cannot be bought, built, or bargained for. Because reality is not shaped by what you want. It is shaped by what you are. And what you are is vibration. The ancient Hermeticists, long before Newton or Einstein, said, as within, so without. As above, so below. The field obeys this truth. It is not a metaphor. It is a law. This is not just spiritual teaching. It is the lost science of the soul, a wisdom so powerful that it was hidden, encrypted, and passed down through veils, not to keep people out, but because it can only be understood by those ready to embody it. You do not attract what you think you deserve. You attract what your frequency permits. And so we begin not with new goals or better habits, but with a remembrance that your thoughts are frequencies, your emotions are signals, and your energetic field is the true author of your destiny. If you felt the pull to something deeper, something ancient, something inexplicably real, you're not lost. You're not late. You're simply waking up to what the wise have always known. The field comes first. And once you master it, nothing else can master you. Let us begin. In the ancient temples of Kemet, the land we now call Egypt, there was a belief that the physical body was merely a vessel, and that the real architecture of the human being existed in layers of energy: Ka, Ba, Ak, spirit, soul, and luminous essence. Thousands of miles away, in the yogic traditions of India, sages mapped these same layers into chakras, nadis, prana. In China, it was Qi. In the Mayan world, it was Ihuya, breath, spirit, motion. No matter the culture, one truth echoed across time. The visible world is governed by the invisible. And at the core of the invisible is energy. Not metaphorical energy, but living, vibrating, shaping reality itself. Fast forward to today. Quantum physics, after centuries of clinging to materialism, has begun to confirm what mystics have known all along: that every atom, every object, every human being is 99.9999% empty space. What gives anything its form is vibration. This means your life, your circumstances, your relationships, your repeated experiences are not random events. They are responses, reflections, reactions to the frequency you emit, consciously or unconsciously. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Most people live disconnected from that frequency. They think their mind is in control, but it's the field, the sum total of your thoughts, emotions, subconscious beliefs, cellular memory, that's broadcasting your reality. Every single day, you are radiating an energetic signature. It surrounds your body like a soft, invisible current, sometimes called the aura, the biofield, or simply your vibration. And that field is talking. It speaks louder than your words, louder than your affirmations, louder than your intentions, because it speaks the language of truth. You can tell the universe you're ready to receive love, but if your field is still vibrating with abandonment wounds, heartbreak, self-doubt, you will attract situations that mirror those frequencies. You can hustle for wealth, repeat affirmations, grind for status, but if deep down your field holds scarcity, fear, or guilt around abundance, life will always find a way to match that vibration. The field doesn't respond to what you say, it responds to what you are. And what you are is what you carry. This is why people find themselves trapped in emotional loops. Same patterns, new faces, same conflicts, new workplaces. They've changed the environment, but not the frequency. The real breakthrough begins when you realize your energy field is not just a byproduct of your life. It is the control panel of your life. And just like any field, it can be tuned, cleansed, strengthened, transformed. This is what the alchemists meant when they spoke of transmutation, not turning lead into gold, but transforming dense emotional frequencies into elevated, radiant energy. This is the art of becoming the master of your own signal, not a victim of old trauma, not a servant to reactive emotion, but a conscious transmitter of the reality you wish to live in. So the question is not, how do I fix my life? The question is, what frequency am I living in, and how do I shift it? Because once you change the field, reality must follow. In today's world, spirituality has been repackaged for speed. You'll hear it everywhere. Just ask the universe. Think positive. Visualize your dream life, and the universe will deliver it like a cosmic Amazon Prime. But here's the truth. Life doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. That's not just poetic. It's the foundation of every sacred mystery school, from the Hermetic teachings of ancient Egypt to the esoteric doctrines of Kabbalah to the initiations of Gnostic Christianity. They all taught a single powerful idea. The universe is mental. The all is mind. The Kabbalion, Hermetic texts. But what they meant by mind wasn't thought alone. It was consciousness, the vibrational core of being. And within this framework, reality itself is a kind of mirror, not reflecting your desires, but reflecting your dominant state of vibration. This is where the modern obsession with the law of attraction falls short. Attraction is not the source, it is the symptom. The real law beneath it is the law of vibration. Vibration governs everything: light, sound, matter, emotion, thought. Your entire reality is structured by frequency. The Sufi mystics knew this. They spoke of how divine qualities, like mercy, wisdom, courage, could be cultivated not through desire, but through alignment. They called these energies names of God and believed that by embodying their vibration, one became a mirror of divine essence. In Eastern thought, the same truth appears. The Upanishads describe a state of turiya, pure consciousness, beyond waking, dreaming, or deep sleep, a vibrational stillness that sits beneath all experience, waiting to be tuned into. The Tao Te Ching calls it the way, ungraspable, but everywhere, invisible, but more real than form. To the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. Lao Tzu. And yet, we live in a world addicted to force. People hustle to manifest love, wealth, recognition, without first cultivating the frequency that allows those things to arrive naturally. You can speak mantras all day long, but if your body is still holding on to fear, if your nervous system is vibrating with unprocessed trauma, if your subconscious is carrying ancestral guilt or shame, then you are emitting a different signal than your words suggest. This is why so many spiritual seekers get frustrated. They think the universe isn't listening, but the universe is always listening, just not to your lips, to your field. And your field, your vibration, is built not only from your conscious thoughts, but from the emotional resonance of your being. The memories you've buried, the beliefs you've inherited, the emotions you suppress, the love you withhold from yourself. These are not intangible. They are data. They are frequency, and the field is tuned by them. So if you want to attract abundance, become the frequency of generosity. If you want to meet deep love, become the frequency of self-respect. If you want peace, become the stillness you crave in others. This isn't about pretending, it's about transmutation. The alchemists weren't melting gold. They were refining the self, purifying lower energies into higher expressions of consciousness. As within, so without. As above, so below. These were not metaphors, they were equations. The modern world thinks manifestation is about control. But true manifestation is about resonance. You don't force it, you become it. And when you do, reality has no choice but to align. There's a reason why some people change cities, change jobs, even change lovers, only to find themselves in the exact same emotional story, repeating on loop. Different faces, same wounds, same outcome. It's not fate, it's not bad luck, it's energy. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And what is the unconscious, if not the sum of our untold stories, our suppressed memories, our inherited fears, vibrating quietly in the background of our being? Here's the hidden truth most people never hear. Your energy field is your biography in motion. Every joy you've felt, every heartbreak you've endured, every trauma, large or small, leaves an imprint. Not just in your mind, not just in your body, but in your field. Emotions are not just fleeting feelings. They are frequencies. They are energy in motion. And when that energy is not processed, not felt fully, not released, it crystallizes. It sinks. It creates pockets of density within the field. These pockets become attraction points, magnetic echoes that call in experiences which match the original wound. That's why the person abandoned in childhood often fears abandonment their whole life, and subconsciously attracts partners who cannot stay. Why the person who was shamed for their voice grows into an adult who hesitates to speak their truth, and then ends up in situations where they are constantly unheard. This isn't weakness, it's programming, but it's not permanent, because what was programmed can be rewritten. In the Taoist healing arts, emotional pain is seen as energetic congestion, grief stored in the lungs, fear stored in the kidneys, anger in the liver, shame in the heart. These aren't symbolic associations. They are lived realities. Modern science is only now catching up. Through studies in neuroplasticity, epigenetics, and somatic psychology, revealing that emotional trauma rewires the nervous system, alters brain chemistry, and stores memory not just in the mind, but in the body. But long before there were brain scans, the sages knew. The Sufis wept through sacred dance to release blocked energy. The yogis twisted and breathed to open psychic channels. The shamans sang to the cells. Because they understood, healing is not an idea. It's a vibrational reset. When we suppress our pain, it doesn't disappear. It embeds, and it shows up in our lives again and again, until we stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What in me is still vibrating at this frequency?" This is where true self-healing begins, not with blame, not with guilt, but with compassionate awareness, the kind that shines light on your patterns without judgment. Because the moment you bring awareness to a wound, the energy begins to move again. And when energy moves, reality follows. You don't need to force healing. You need to create the conditions where the field can reorganize itself, where emotion is allowed to complete its arc, where the vibration of shame, guilt, fear is acknowledged felt, and transmuted. This is why meditation matters, why breathwork works, why sacred movement, sound, nature, stillness, all become tools of liberation. Not because they fix you, but because they retune the field. And when your frequency shifts, those repetitive stories, they simply lose their magnetism. They fall away because you no longer hold the vibration that called them in. Now that you understand the field, the question becomes, how do I change it? How do I clean the energetic residue of old pain? How do I raise the frequency that shapes my reality? The ancient traditions never left us without tools, but they didn't offer shortcuts. They offered rituals, living practices that weren't just about doing, but about being, about remembering. The first tool is the most underestimated: breath. The yogis called it prana, the Taoists ki, the Hebrews ruach, all translating to the same thing: life force. When you breathe with awareness, slowly, consciously, you aren't just calming the mind, you are cleansing the field. You are circulating energy through the stagnant places. You are opening channels that trauma closed, and you're doing it without a single word. Try this before sleep. Sit still. Inhale for 4 counts. Exhale for 6. Imagine a golden light, not outside of you, but expanding from your center. Let it move through the field like a gentle fire, cleansing, soothing, reorganizing. 5 minutes, every night. Do it for 7 days. Watch what changes. The second tool, vibrational language. Your thoughts are not just mental events. They are frequency emissions. The words you repeat, even silently, become patterns in your field. This is why mantras, affirmations, and sacred chants are found in every spiritual lineage. Not because of what they mean, but because of what they do. Say this aloud, not with force, but with feeling. I am safe in my body. I am light in motion. Everything is aligning for my awakening. Repeat it throughout the day, not as a task, but as an anchor. You're not convincing the world. You're tuning the field. Another sacred tool, journaling the energetic truth. Not what happened today, but what vibrated beneath the surface. Split the page in 2. Left side, the thoughts you repeated most today. Right side, the emotions they carried. Ask yourself, which of these fed my expansion? Which drained it? This is shadow work in real time. No therapist needed, just radical presence. Then, choose one thought that elevates your vibration. Just one, and repeat it like a mantra for the next 24 hours. These small rituals are not small. They are recalibrations. They are how you begin to tune the frequency of your life like a sacred instrument. And then there's nature, the ancient recharger. Sit beneath a tree. Let your bare feet touch the soil. Say nothing. Listen. The earth holds a vibration that predates your pain. And when you sync with it, your field remembers its original rhythm. Sound is another medicine. Frequencies like 432 hertz or ancient chants like the Gayatri mantra aren't aesthetic. They are vibrational codes, clearing static from your energetic field. Feel them. Don't just hear them. Let sound wash the unseen. These practices are not optional if you seek true transformation, because reality bends for those who take responsibility for their vibration. And here's the greatest tool of all: presence. The field responds to now, not to memory, not to fantasy. When you are fully present, in the breath, in the body, in the moment, the field expands. You become magnetic, clear, anchored. To the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. Lao Tzu. Not because the mind controls the universe, but because when the mind stops fighting, the field aligns with truth. You don't need 10,000 practices. You need one, done with devotion, because when you commit to tuning your field, you become the signal, and everything that no longer resonates with you simply falls away. What you are beginning to remember was about energy, vibration, the field, is not modern. It is not a product of the self-help era or the digital age. It is ancient. So ancient, in fact, that it has been encoded into every major spiritual tradition. Not in plain language, but in symbols, numbers, myths, and rituals. So only those truly seeking could unlock its meaning. In ancient Egypt, the initiate passed through mystery schools guarded by symbols. The Ankh, the serpent, the eye, each pointing not to superstition, but to the inner journey of transmutation. The Ka and Ba, the twin aspects of energy and soul, were understood as the real self, while the body was merely a shell. They spoke not of gods in the sky, but of frequencies within the self. In Greece, the Orphic and Eleusinian mysteries guided seekers through symbolic deaths and rebirths, not to dramatize mythology, but to simulate energetic resurrection. These rites cleansed the initiate's field, prepared them to hold divine consciousness. Know thyself wasn't philosophical advice. It was the first key to mastering the inner field. In Sufism, whirling dervishes spun not for performance, but for transformation. Their circular dance was a literal tuning of the energetic body, a way to dissolve the ego into the divine field. The names of God were chanted not as doctrine, but as frequencies, each one tuning a different note in the soul. Buddhist monks sat in silence for hours not to escape life, but to expand their field until the illusion of separation dissolved. Tibetan lamas chanted deep tones not for beauty, but to vibrate through dimensions of awareness. Native shamans across the Americas journeyed into unseen realms, with drums, with plants, with breath, to cleanse what Western medicine could not touch. Even in the West, the 33rd degree, often misunderstood as a rank of Freemasonry, is not about hierarchy. It is a symbol of completion, a sacred number that appears in Christ's life, in vertebrae of the spine, in numerological systems across continents. It symbolizes the union of mind, body, and spirit, the awakened triad, and the ability to hold higher truth without distortion. 33 is not a number of power. It is a number of conscious integration, where thought becomes emotion, emotion becomes action, and all of it aligns with truth. The same truth echoed across India's Upanishads, where Atman, the soul, is said to be no different than Brahman, the source. To reach this realization, one must purify the field, still the mind, and dissolve the illusion of separation. In the Christian mystical tradition, Christ wasn't just a man, but a vibration, a frequency so coherent, so radiant, that even death could not collapse his field. The kingdom of heaven is within you, he said, not metaphorically, energetically. And here we are, in the modern world, where most people scroll endlessly, numb to the frequency they carry, unaware of the ancient intelligence coded into their being. But the knowledge never left. It just hid itself, waiting, for the ones who would no longer need to see proof, but feel truth, for those who would stop asking for signs and begin living as the signal. You don't need to belong to any temple or tradition, because every real tradition points to the same gate: your field, your consciousness, your responsibility. This is not about collecting teachings. It's about remembering what your soul already knows. You've seen this knowledge before, in dreams and synchronicities, in déjà vu. You've felt it when time slowed, when silence spoke, when your whole being vibrated with yes. This moment is not new. It's a return. So if you're still here, still listening, still resonating with these words, then you already know. You've walked this path before, and this time, you came to master it. With power comes choice, and with energy, mastery comes the deepest choice of all: to serve or to control, to elevate or to manipulate, to embody truth or to perform it. In the esoteric traditions, this choice wasn't philosophical. It was initiatory, a test every seeker would eventually face. Because once you understand how the field works, once you've felt the power of your own vibration affecting others, attracting synchronicities, commanding presence, the temptation arises to bend this wisdom to your will, to use it not to align, but to dominate. And this is where many fall. There are people who learn just enough energetic knowledge to influence outcomes, impress others, or craft an image of spirituality, while their inner field remains misaligned, hungry for validation, power, or control. But here's the unbreakable law. The field may tolerate deception for a while, but not forever. Anything built on a distorted frequency will eventually collapse, not as punishment, but as realignment. The true masters of energy do not manipulate. They radiate. They don't force outcomes. They become the condition in which truth can arise. In the ancient schools, initiates were not just taught technique. They were taught ethics, not moral codes, but vibrational integrity. Because energy is impact. Every thought you send, every emotion you emit, every intention you carry, touches the field of another. This is why Christ taught forgiveness, why Buddha taught detachment, why the Bhagavad Gita centers around Dharma, righteous action without ego. They weren't teaching morality, they were teaching how to protect the field, from the inside out. True spiritual sovereignty is not about isolation, it's about responsibility. Knowing that your inner frequency changes more than just your life. It ripples through every room, every relationship, every ecosystem you touch. So ask yourself, are you seeking mastery to escape life, or to serve it, to avoid pain, or to transmute it, to gain power, or to embody peace? Because the field doesn't just magnify what you want, it amplifies who you are becoming. This is why the great mystics moved in silence, why the real sages could shift an entire space just by walking into it, without a word, because their field was intact, pure, aligned, whole. They weren't interested in convincing. Their vibration did the speaking. If you truly wish to walk this path, let humility be your anchor. Let truth be your compass. Let your energy be something that heals simply by being near. You're not here to play with energy. You're here to become a steward of it. This is spiritual adulthood. And it begins when you realize that every action, every emotion, every unconscious ripple you send returns, not as punishment, but as precision, because the universe only echoes what you emit. The goal is not to become untouchable. The goal is to become undistorted. And when your field no longer leaks power, you don't need to control life. You simply stand in resonance, and life rearranges around you. We live in a world of noise, not just digital noise, not just mental noise, energetic noise, the kind that you can't hear with ears, but you feel deep in your nervous system. You felt it. Walking into a space and feeling drained within minutes. Talking to someone who leaves you confused, heavy, scattered, for no obvious reason. Waking up exhausted even after a full night's sleep. This isn't random. It's not always physical. It's often energetic interference. Because just like the body has an immune system, your field does too. And just like the body absorbs toxins through what it eats, drinks, or breathes, your field absorbs frequencies through thought, emotion, attention, and proximity. Most people walk through life energetically wide open, absorbing everything, reacting to everything, unknowingly carrying emotions that aren't even theirs. Especially if you're empathic, intuitive, or sensitive, the risk is even higher. You don't just process your own vibration, you pick up the residue of others. This is why energetic protection isn't a mystical luxury. It's a vital discipline. And it begins not with rituals, but with awareness. Ask yourself, who do I feel drained around, even if they mean well? What environments leave me scattered, anxious, or unclear? Where do I lose presence, grounding, or inner voice? Start there. Because the first step of protection is discernment. But awareness alone isn't enough. The field needs cleansing, just like the body does. And throughout time, the wise created tools for this. Smudging with natural incense, not to chase spirits, but to reset vibration. Sage, Palo Santo, frankincense, each with unique clearing frequencies. Salt baths, used in countless cultures, from the Dead Sea to Himalayan rituals, to neutralize density and extract psychic residue, herbal washes with rue, rosemary, or lavender, not just for scent, but for field stabilization. Crystals like black tourmaline or amethyst, not as decor, but as vibrational filters. Sound clearing, tuning forks, 432 Hz tones, Tibetan bowls, all capable of restructuring chaotic fields. Water, yes, even a simple cold shower or river dip, realigns the electromagnetic layers of the body. But let's be clear, these tools support protection. They are not substitutes for inner alignment, because the most powerful protection is your frequency itself. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned, the field becomes coherent. A coherent field is like a strong immune system. It doesn't react to every passing virus. It stays intact. It filters distortion instead of absorbing it. True protection is not about hiding from the world. It's about being so centered that the world cannot pull you off center. Christ walked into chaos, yet remained unshaken. Buddha sat among suffering, yet radiated peace. Why? Because their field was stable, clear, sovereign. They weren't guarded, they were grounded. So here's the real invitation. Start living as if your energy matters, well, because it does. Protect it not out of fear, but out of reverence. This is how you begin to walk through life lightly but unshakably, clear but open, present but protected. Because when your field is whole, nothing has power over you unless you invite it in. Have you ever noticed how certain themes in your life keep coming back? Different cities, different relationships, different careers, but somehow the same emotions, the same betrayals, the same limitations. As if life is trying to tell you something and won't stop until you finally hear it. This isn't coincidence. It's not karma in the old fatalistic sense. It's something far more immediate, a vibrational pattern stuck in your field, repeating itself until you raise your frequency above it. You see, unresolved energy doesn't disappear. It loops. It cycles through new forms, attracting similar people, places, and situations. Not to punish you, but to reflect you. Why? Because energy by nature seeks resolution. It wants to complete. And until it does, it will magnetize whatever it needs to recreate the wound or heal it. This is why people who felt unworthy in childhood often attract partners who treat them as secondary. Why those who fear rejection tend to chase unavailable love. Why those who never felt seen end up in careers where their light is dimmed. These are not random. They are vibrational echoes, born from early experience, stored in the field, attracting familiar frequencies. In psychology, they're called attachment patterns. In trauma therapy, they're called survival responses. In energy work, they're known as karmic imprints. But whatever you call them, the principle remains. What isn't healed gets repeated. Until you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what in me is still vibrating with this frequency? That's when the pattern breaks. Because awareness disrupts inertia, and new vibration displaces the old. The key isn't to fight the pattern, it's to outgrow its frequency. So how do you do that? First, become radically honest with yourself. Sit with the emotion that keeps showing up. Trace it back, not intellectually, but energetically. Where does it live in your body? What story does it tell you about yourself? And most importantly, is it still true? Next, bring presence to it, not to analyze, not to resist, just to feel fully, compassionately. Because when an emotion is fully felt, it finishes its loop. And when it finishes, it releases its grip on the field. Then begin building a new signal. One small action, thought, or emotion at a time that belongs to the you who no longer needs that pattern. This might look like saying no when your field used to collapse into yes, speaking your truth when your vibration used to shrink, resting instead of overgiving, choosing a different response, not because it's easy, but because it's new. Each of these choices is a micro shift in the field, and with enough of them, The old resonance dissolves. You'll know it's gone, not because you forced it, but because you'll walk into an old situation and feel nothing. No trigger, no need to prove, no magnetic pull, just peace. That's when you've rewritten the code, because you are no longer the vibration that called it in. And when the frequency changes, the cycle ends. There comes a point on the journey when you no longer seek to fix everything outside of you, because you've discovered the one place that truly holds power: stillness within. This is the forgotten state, the sacred center, the frequency known across traditions as neutrality. But neutrality doesn't mean passivity. It's not spiritual numbness. It is not a giving up. It is the opposite. Neutrality is full presence, without entanglement. It's the state the Buddhists called equanimity, where the mind no longer clings to pleasure or resists pain, where experience flows through without distortion, where reaction becomes response, chosen, conscious, clear. It's the state the Taoists described as Wu Wei, effortless action born from alignment with the greater rhythm. Not because you do less, but because you're no longer fighting life. In the Christian tradition, Christ stood before chaos, betrayal, and violence, yet remained anchored. Forgive them. They know not what they do. This was not weakness. It was energetic sovereignty. Because when your field is whole, you don't react to everything. You observe. You choose. You respond from center, not from wound. He who is slow to anger is better than the mighty. Proverbs 16:32. That's not just scripture, it's vibrational physics. In the ancient Egyptian concept of Ma'at, the heart of the deceased was weighed against a feather. The message was clear. Only when the heart is light, free from attachment, resentment, distortion, can it ascend. Neutrality, then, is not apathy. It is freedom from energetic gravity. In modern terms, you are no longer ruled by your triggers. You do not chase validation. You don't collapse when others project. You are not frozen. You are clear. You still feel. You still care. But you are no longer hooked. Your power is not in what you can control, but in what no longer controls you. And here's what happens when you live from this frequency. You stop leaking energy through unnecessary battles. You stop absorbing noise that was never yours. You start hearing the subtle whispers of guidance that only arise in stillness. Your decisions become wiser. Your relationships become cleaner. Your path becomes quieter, but more certain. Neutrality is not where the journey ends. It's where mastery begins. Because only from this place can you move energy without distortion. Only from here can you serve without agenda. Only from here can you see clearly, through illusion, drama, and fear. And when you live from this state, the world no longer dictates your vibration. You dictate how you engage with the world. That is freedom. Not escaping life, but walking through it untouched by chaos. Not closing your heart, but keeping it open, without letting it be hijacked. You become like a mountain in a storm. Still, present, immovable. This is what the great teachers were pointing to. Not perfection, presence. You don't need to be unaffected by life to be powerful. You just need to become anchored in the field beneath it. Because from that depth, nothing can truly shake you. True mastery doesn't show itself on mountaintops. It shows itself in the hallway, in traffic, in a conversation with someone who doesn't understand you. It shows itself in the way you breathe before you reply, in the pause between impulse and action, in the split-second moment when you remember, I am the field. I don't react, I choose. This is integration. Spiritual growth is not about escaping into light. It's about bringing the light into everything, the mundane, the messy, the overlooked. Washing dishes becomes presence. Writing an email becomes vibration. Drinking tea becomes a ritual of stillness. Saying no becomes an act of alignment. Listening becomes a sacred offering. Because the field doesn't turn off when your meditation ends. Your vibration doesn't disappear when your journal closes. It's always broadcasting. The question is, Are you aware of it? You may sit for an hour in silence, but what do you carry in your tone when someone interrupts you? You may chant ancient mantras in the morning, but how do you speak to your family that night? This is not judgment, it's invitation to make your whole life the temple, not just a corner of your room, because when you remember your field, every moment becomes a choice. Do I act from fear or from clarity? Do I shrink into habit or rise into coherence? And some days, you'll forget, you'll spiral, you'll react. That's okay. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to remember sooner, to return faster, to recenter without shame. That's the mark of the one who's truly integrating. Not that they never fall, but that they know exactly how to come home. Over time, your baseline frequency shifts. You speak differently, walk differently, decide differently. You no longer need to control the world because you trust the field you've become. People around you might not understand, but they'll feel it. They'll sense the steadiness. The way your presence doesn't beg to be seen, it simply radiates. And this is how collective healing begins. Not through lectures, through vibration and motion. Every time you choose alignment over reaction, silence over noise, integrity over approval, you ripple that frequency into the field we all share. So begin with the breath, then the choice, then the word, then the habit, then the rhythm of your life. Because when enough of us start living from the field, the world itself begins to retune. After all the teachings, the breath work, the alignment, the cleansing, the neutrality, the tools, the tradition, there remains one final truth, the one that ends the seeking. You are not just interacting with the field. You are not just shaping it. You are it, not a part of it, not a traveler through it. You are the code, the current, the consciousness itself. The ancients knew this. They just spoke in riddles to protect it. I am that I am, the tetragrammaton of the Hebrews. Atman is Brahman, the Vedic revelation. The kingdom of God is within you. Christ's whisper, not metaphors, reminders. All along, the field wasn't something out there to master. It was the true you, waiting beneath the noise of conditioning, fear, identity. And when you remember that, you stop reaching, you start radiating. The practices still matter. The disciplines still shape you. But you are no longer chasing healing. You are living wholeness. Your energy no longer says, I want. It says, I already am. And that shift changes everything. This is why you've always felt something calling you deeper. Why superficial answers never satisfied. Why even success without soul felt hollow. Because you came here, not just to survive. You came to remember that your thoughts carry voltage, that your emotions are not flaws, they are frequencies, that your past is not your prison, it's your programming, and that your vibration is not fixed. It is your greatest power. When you begin to live like this, breathing as the field, walking as the field, loving as the field, you change rooms without speaking. You open paths that logic can't explain. You become a living transmission, not to impress, not to convert, but to simply exist as a coherent presence in a chaotic world. This is how the world heals, not through force, but through frequency holders, like you, who choose to remember. So carry this truth with you. You are not broken. You are not late. You are not behind. You are the activated code. You are the field in human form. You are vibration made conscious. And the moment you align with that, reality cannot help but align with you. The journey never truly ends. It spirals upward. Deeper still, wider still, lighter still. But you no longer walk it as a seeker. You walk it as the signal. Now go live from the center. Go speak from the stillness. Go love from the field. And wherever you go, leave a frequency that reminds others who they are too.